And that seems okay. That mental conditioning seems to be quite good, but everybody, even in this so-called positive form of conditioning, after a while, it wears you down, and it's not enough. And even that, after a while, leads to a sense of, this isn't it, this is not enough, and even that will take you sooner or later into some form of unhappiness. And often the unhappiness is already there underneath the conditioning, just comes up at night at 3 in the morning when you wake up. Oh. Oh. And then you have other people who suffer from very destructive or negative forms of conditioning. They were brought up to believe that everybody's out to get you, so that at an early age they buy a gun to defend themselves, and so on. So that's many forms of mental conditionings are there in people, but they are all thought forms. And for many humans still on this planet, that's all there is to their lives. They are thought forms that are invested with a sense of self, so identified with the mental, emotional conditioning. And that, to a large extent, determines how you experience the world, because you look at things through your conditioned mind, a filter. And we are not here to improve the conditioned mind. There is a place for that. There are many workshops you can go to, or books you can read, how to improve. And for many people, it's a step on their development, their spiritual development. First they realize, yes, there's something I can do about it. But this is not what we're doing here. We are here to access, or many of you have already accessed it, so it's a question of deepening a dimension that has nothing to do with your past. A dimension of consciousness that is timeless. Nothing to do with your personal history. The only good thing about the personal history here, the one helpful thing about your personal history is that it got you here. Now, I don't necessarily mean here, this place, or listening to this speaker. It got you to a point of awakening. If you were not awakening, you would not even be here. And the few of you who came here accidentally believing this talk was going to be about something else, they will either be surprised, and suddenly something within them will respond and say, wow, I thought it was something else altogether. Or they will become very frustrated within a few minutes, or if you're not frustrated already, and say, what is he actually saying? And this is the reason why, if you are a graduate or undergraduate student at UCLA, they will not give you credits for attending this gathering. They don't even realize what this gathering is all about, because if they did, they probably wouldn't have allowed it to take place here. So it's a question really not of the speaker trying to convince anybody of anything, but a recognition in you that what these words are saying is true, and you recognize it in yourself through your own consciousness. Because deep down, and by deep down I mean underneath the conditioned mind, it might not even be that deep, just underneath it, there is a vast intelligence that surpasses anything you've ever learned, and even if you have 3 PhDs, far beyond anything you have ever learned. It's relatively insignificant, no matter how highly educated you are. There is a vast pool of intelligence that is unconditioned, that is the space underneath the mind, out of which any creative idea that has ever come to anybody has arisen. Anything that was new, that was something powerful, that came into this world, often within the madness of normal human existence and human history, occasionally flashes of great creativity or incredible insights came here and there. Most of human history is madness, but here and there you get flashes. So if humanity were a single human being and you looked at the history of this human being, you would say this human being is suffering from a dangerous mental disorder or psychosis. A very violent person really should be locked away. But occasionally he or she has lucid moments. That's humanity up to this point. Now, we have arrived at a point where lucid moments are not enough anymore. They will not help us to survive this madness into the next century, into this new century. Lucid moments are not enough. What is needed and what is happening, otherwise all these people would not come to listen to a speaker who is not charismatic. If so many people come to listen to a speaker who is not charismatic, there must be some truth there somewhere. And of course, the truth is not in the speaker, the truth is in you. And that is the truth of who you are beyond the mind-made sense of self. The noise machine in the head and the emotions that go with it. The ego entity, by ego, I mean complete identification with the conditioned mind. No space. That's what ego means. No, you don't realize, you don't recognize the most important, let's put it like that for a moment, the most important part of you, the most important dimension to who you are is totally unrecognized. And this is still the fate of the majority of humanity, although far more people than ever before are now actually awakening. They are going through the process of awakening out of that state of unconsciousness. Now, when you talk to a normal world and talk about unconsciousness, they think you're talking about having fainted or going. But unconscious means, in our language, that there is complete identification with the stream of thinking. All you are then is a conditioned entity, playing out your conditioning, which may be quite good, or maybe not very good, or in between. For most people, it's in between. Happy one day, unhappy the next. And unhappy more often than happy. Discontent, sense of something is missing here, lack, not enough, I haven't fully arrived at myself yet. So nothing seems to be actually fulfilling for very long. The continuous need to look for something to add to who I am. Okay, there's another experience. Or I can buy something new. Go out and look. There. Yeah, how much is that? Okay, take it. Take it home, and then you see it's a nice shiny bag. And you've read all the ads about it already, which tell you, if you want to be a true individual, you buy this product. And then you have this nice shiny bag, and then you get home and you take it out. Now I know who I am. And for a little while it works, maybe an hour, or even a couple of days. But then you wait a couple of days, and then, of course, okay, what's next? The discontent is there again, something missing. What? Look, always looking for that which is missing. And where is the ego looking for that which is missing? Always, because it's obviously not here. It's not even looking here. It already knows that what is missing isn't here. So the ego isn't even looking here. So it's looking in the next moment for what's missing. So that's why everybody lives, not consciously, but unconsciously, as if the next moment, or the one after that, were more important than this moment. It's a normal way to live. People don't realize that this is how they live. Very rarely are they actually at home or one with this moment, very rarely. And some people are only at home or one with this moment when they are getting tired and the noise machine in the head is too tired to produce more thoughts. So you're halfway towards sleep, and for the first time that day, it feels good to be alive. And then you're longing for the complete annihilation of self in deep sleep. Get away from that, from the self. Get away from the noise machine with its continuous stuff-producing machine. Stuff. You need this, you want this, stuff, more stuff. And then you go, and you sleep, if you're lucky, all night long, but the noise machine wakes up at 3 in the morning. And starts working. Oh my God. And you remember that you have problems. And a great heaviness descends upon you. Especially you're in bed, there is no problem, but the mind doesn't know that. And there you are. And then the body responds with an emotion the body doesn't realize that all your thoughts are just thoughts. To the body responds to thought as if thought were a reality. So when you're thinking about your problems and how very, very challenging your problems are, then your body reacts as if you were actually in a crisis situation at 3 in the morning in bed. So that's where people, The noise machine in the head, then, for many humans, the only way they can be free of it is when they move towards unconsciousness. And of course, another way of moving towards unconsciousness is alcohol, which helps also to some extent, not always, but it helps some people to feel a little better for a while. Suddenly, all the day they were stressed and obsessed